Hello, vinyl community, and welcome YouTubers from everywhere. Today I'm doing a contest entry for my friend JOAMON. Hope I'm pronouncing that right, and I will have a link down below to his contest. His contest is about art and music, and he draws and does art, and you can enter in two different places, or you can show some album covers. Okay, I can't draw a straight line with a ruler, so not going to be any drawing from me, but I love art, and I pick up quite a few albums just for the cover art, not even knowing what's in them. But I'm going to show you a couple I know what is in them, and I got on today one of my best Paul Gauguin style shirts, and I'm going to show this album, South Pacific, the music from the Broadway show South Pacific, with cover art by Paul Gauguin. I love that style of art, and of course I like the music from that period. Here's another one of his paintings. In the vinyl community, I've been given the moniker a couple times of Mr. Cheesecake, so keeping with that, there will be a little bit of that in here, and then I'm going to show an original painting with matching music at the end. Of course, the most identifiable cheesecake artist on records in the vinyl community, and one of the most famous artists in America was Vargas, particularly famous in the 40s, 50s, and 60s doing this style of pinup art. Of course, this is the famous Cars cover. And one of the other ones, he's only done a few pieces of art for album covers. Here's Bernadette Peters with a Vargas art, and I love the Vargas art, and this was a discovery a couple years ago, and one of my favorite records. Great when the art and the music come together. I showed this record recently. This is 1957, B.B. King on the Crown budget label. Now, what's interesting about this is this was taken from a black and white photograph, and the Crown record label hired a artist who was fairly good at the time to color in the black and white photographs to make the album covers more attractive. And these have actually become collectible all in their own right. And in fact, I picked this up, didn't have the record in it. If it would have had the record in it in this kind of condition, it would have been $200 or $300. So watching out for this kind of art on covers, that's fun. Here's one from the 1950, one of my favorite pianists, Dick Hyman. He almost started out playing rinky-tink, honky-tonk piano under the pseudonym Knuckles O'Toole. That's kind of interesting artwork on the cover there. I don't know if it says who the artist is or not. Ragtime is one of my special interests, and the next little feature I'm going to have here is going to be an original painting that was done just to celebrate a ragtime composition. One of my areas of special interest for many years was ragtime piano, which we'll say took place roughly from 1900 till about 1920. And one of the famous compositions from there that ragtimers all love was called The Pride of the Smokey Row. And for a long time, nobody knew much about that, and the composer's basically been unknown. A little bit has been unearthed. I'm going to keep this little story fairly short for the purposes of this video. Originally, it was thought the Smokey Row was in New Orleans, and there was one there, but it turns out that one was probably around 1860 or 70 and couldn't have been part of the ragtime era. But in northern Indiana, there was a town where a large construction project was going on, and there was a Smokey Row there. So who is the pride of the Smokey Row? Well, the Smokey Row was the little district where the lowest price, the cheapest, the lowest class prostitutes worked. And it was called the Smokey Row because it took place in an alley between buildings, and they had little like tents or tarps set up for a little bit of privacy. And the Smokey Row came from, in the wintertime, to keep warm, they had little bonfires going, and of course all of that smoke was then kind of contained. Well, this person wrote a rag that's an absolutely beautiful rag that tells a little story about one of the patrons of that establishment, and I went down to the Smokey Row, and won't recite it along with the music here, but you're going to hear the piece played from a recording that I recorded and produced some years ago, The Pride of the Smokey Row. The composer was J.M. Wilcoxon. Hope you enjoy this. I'm just going to let the whole tune play, and when you get about 3/4 of the way through the song, you'll hear a little change in the music, the C section where action is taking place, and then it returns to the A section at the very end, like what you heard at the beginning, where the fellow's in a good mood and on his way down to that part of town. So a little different art and music story than you're used to hearing here, isn't it? The pianist here is Gale Foner, who was in his upper 60s back in the 90s when this was recorded. Haven't heard from him for quite a while, not sure if he is still with us. The painting that you will see coming up is a triptych done with pen and ink and colored markers, kind of like you showed in your contest entry where your daughter sent you these colored markers. The artist is David Thomas Roberts, who is also one of the leading ragtime pianists and composers in the United States today. This is in a category called Outsider Art. And on the right side is a picture of old New Orleans with the dancing girls and maybe Jelly Roll Morton at the piano at the right. In the middle is kind of a generic scene with a couple of girls who might have been the pride of the Smokey Row. And on the left side, the architecture represents the little town in Indiana where the place that the composition was actually named for was. there we have a little history with our art and a little history of our music, and hope it wasn't too titillating for you all, and hope everybody enjoyed this, and good luck to everyone on the contest, which ends on the 31st. So you guys get busy and get an entry in here. It's a fun one.